Hi there, I'm Brian, and if I point my camera down, you can see I've had like a bunch of beers. You can't super see them because they're like, but yeah. So I've been drinking a little bit. I've also, donated plasma, all this stuff. Brian, cut that part out. Okay, so we're going to be looking at a little thing right here, which is a web comic that I tried to do back in like 2008-ish, and it's super edgy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open each one inside of MS Paint. I'm going to do a dramatic read of them to kind of show like every single teenager on Earth, every teenage guy is going to be edgy. I was something else. All right, so this is the prologue page. He's like, "Sir, the signs of the apocalypse are coming." Like, what the fuck does that mean? The signs of the apocalypse are coming. Each day, more and more events occur that lead us to believe the world will end. Well, yeah, I mean, it was 2009 and 2012 was supposed to be. I've lived through like 30 different apocalypse journeys. They're ridiculous. Is the president of the Clocker Corporation, the wealthiest and most diverse company. Why did I put diverse there? So this guy with the dumb head, he's supposed to be like an advisor, I guess, and it doesn't really read that way. And then you have what was supposed to be like him having his hand on the table and going like clenching his fist. He's like, "How long do we have? A week, starting tomorrow." What does that mean? Many people have even began to kill themselves randomly. Oh, so edgy. I could cut myself on the edge already. Right here we have the three eye thing, which is supposed to be the Leviathan. Great job drawing that. That's supposed to be like, oh, it's so dramatic, but there's no shading at all. And he's like, "Stay the course, but stay the course." Like, what does that mean? You know? Page two. This is more prologue. This is for the character Tommy, I believe. Yeah. And it's supposed to be his parents fighting, and the legs are all fucked up. Like, what is this foot right here? What, Brian, why are you focusing on feet? Are you some sort of pervert? Like, okay, so this foot right here, the toes are all crunched up inside of the heel. Like, what is that even supposed to be? But okay, so that's Tommy's mom. She's like, "What did you just call me?" And he's like, "Well, if the whore boot fits." Alright, screw you. Well, maybe if you did that more often, we could stay together. Tommy's like, "Mommy?" What? Don't you yell at him. All he ever does is ask me questions. What are you talking about? God, I don't even want to look at him. And it's like, okay, wow, it's so edgy. Here's a fun fact about this comic is I decided to scan them in, but for some reason I couldn't figure out the scanning program, and it's like, okay, well, this is a page, but there isn't that much drawing to it, so we have to like crunch it up, which is why there are like red lines on the side. Like, that's dumb. Alright, here's where the actual story starts, and by story, I don't know what I mean by that. So this is the main character. My brother thought it was supposed to be a stand-in for me, and that is because the character A has a very similar look to how I draw myself in comics. B has no name, and C is like a toy collector, and at the time I was a toy collector. He is apparently followed by that Leviathan shadow character. He's like, "I will be free." But he's like, "I need some coffee." So they're clearly at like a Starbucks and not Starbucks. They're at a Target which has like a Starbucks on the inside. So he's in line for it, and you can tell here because he's the only one who has a face. He's also the only one so far that has like any sort of eye details, and that is actually important, believe it or not. It was a dumb thing to be important. By the time of the fifth or sixth panel, I guess I decided this was the first page I drew, and I was like super bored. I was grounded. I had nothing else to do, so I used my old self insert that I would put in all of my comics. His name is Alex. He has a conical head and a spheroid body, and it's like, what's even the point? So he does this thing where he's like, I was wondering if you've seen my mommy. Alex, we both know you don't have a mom. Oh, yeah! Can you buy me a coffee? And then the Starbucks employee just fucking shoots himself. And it's like, I don't know what I was going for. There's this whole suicide plot line, which it goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. He's like, I almost feel guilty for taking this. Almost. So I guess like the Starbucks barista apparently made the coffees and then shot himself in the head, which like why? Alex is just being like a doofus, and it's like, eh. And then Alex sarcastically says, "Why is everyone committing suicide?" Which, like, all right. The next page is from the Leviathan's perspective. He's like, "I need to be free. I was imprisoned here long ago by them. I was I was almost free, and then the angel came." There's this whole like ongoing angelic demonic sort of like interconflict thing. But this mask can cross the barrier. With it I may be able to escape. All I need is a target. And he's like targeting the nameless character who was just in the Target getting a Starbucks. And he's saying like yes, and you see like his body is supposed to be like being stretched like in animes, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, whenever the character is being possessed by like a different sort of demonic presence. Except it doesn't really read that way, does it? Nope, not really. First, I need more power. And like he has a very oblique spheroid head, which doesn't really get across the Leviathan design aesthetic that I chose, where he has these like four antler-like appendages sprouting from his three-eyed head, which is designed entirely around like having three. Anyway, woo! Infinity screen. Don't look at any of my other folders. All right, this page. Alex is apparently watching the TV and has a news story saying Clocker Corporation apologizes for their mass-produced shipment error of recall on all figures has been mandated. And the unnamed character is like, that's why we're going back to Target, which is not a very good writing choice, having the characters leave, go home, and then immediately go back to the area that they were just at. But whatever, I was a teenager. And he's like, here it is, the new rare Clocker mask, because obviously there was just a recall. But why is it in a pre-packaged blister card action figure pack if it's supposed to be a one-of-a-kind item that the Leviathan, this demonic presence, named after a biblical beast, is sending out to people, like, it doesn't make sense. Over here we have the next page, and here's where already we're on page 8, and that's including 2 pages of like preamble that I made earlier. Like I made them later on. Anyway, we're on page 8, and already just quoting directly from Dirk Gently. He gets a phone call and he's like, "Rule 1 in housebreaking, never answer the telephone when you're in the middle of a job," which not only is from the first Dirk Gently book, but also in the 2010 TV series, which, I mean, granted, that came out like 2 years after I had written this, or maybe even 1 year after I had written this, but still, like, I quoted it directly from the fucking Dirk Gently book. And he's like, rule 2, preparation. Bring the right tools. Bring gloves. Try to have the faintest glimmering of an idea of what you're about before you start dangling from window ledges in the middle of the night. And I'm like, it didn't show this guy dangling in the window ledges. I should probably mention who this guy is. It's supposed to be Levi. Now, the entire point of the Leviathan character construct was that he had this, like, shoulder armor. I figure that the nearest like regular human equivalent to that would be like some sort of detective cloak, and from there my mind stretched to rip off Dirk Gently. On also, also, I gave these comic pages to my dad to read because I was a stupid ass teenager, and this is the only page where he actually chuckled. And it's like Rule 3, never forget Rule 2, and he's like, "Who's that?" Neighborhood watch. If you just look out the window, flash. Rule 4, never stand where you can be photographed. And it's like, yeah, it's just Dirk Gently. It's just Dirk Gently. I was a teenager. Fuck. All right. Well, leaving Alex in the car was stupid. Leaving the keys in, that's what went wrong. Womp womp. So this shadowy guy with all the stitches, I am actually kind of proud of this drawing right here when I was a teenager, pretty stupid. This character is Locke, so Locke is actually supposed to be like a human version of the Transformers animated character Lockdown. So I took the lockdown character who he's like a bounty hunter and he hunts people, but then he takes trophies from them, and by people I mean the Transformers. But then Locke is like the human equivalent of that. He hunts regular people and then takes trophies from them, which are like their organs. So he's this weird. I'm actually pretty happy with how this character turned out. He's like this weird, creepy character who goes around stealing people's organs and then plugging them into his own body like some sort of Otto Frankenstein. But then I also immediately turned it into like a sexual assault metaphor where he's like, why are we on a blanket now to set the mood? And it's like, fuck, why would I think that's a good idea? Gotta tell you, man, it's awful. We get back to, so Levi was supposed to be this character who would lead up into the Leviathan thing, and he was supposed to be the Leviathan as a human or some sort of human manifest character that was going to be possessed by the Leviathan who would take over his body and just like rip it to shreds, sort of like Doc Scratch from Homestuck, I guess, but like no. And then unnamed character has mask is holding. It's kind of cool, except that the eyelids look like a cartoon character drawn in Flash. Just let me poke around. Oh my god. There's a hand holding a scalpel, which like is the worst way you can hold anything. Like, oh okay. This may scar you for life. Around here is where my blue pen ran out, and I had to use a black pen. I was hoping no one would notice. Yes, free me from this prison, says the Leviathan, and like, ring ring, hello, telephone. Oh, this is your neighbor. Guy broke into your house and then killed himself. What was with the ongoing? Well, I mean, I was feeling suicidal at the time, so that's probably where it was coming from. But like, no. There's the dead body of Levi, who was supposed to be a grand, mysterious character that would eventually become like a major plot element. Just immediately kill him off. That's been happening a lot lately. Listen, can you drive me home? Sure. And then there's this panel. Let me tell you what's wrong with this panel, okay? I'm gonna take this red and then just all of it. Is that supposed to be like his heart right here? What is this? It like goes in here, but there's already a heart. Is that like a pancreas? Why? Anyway, we'll close that. No, we're not gonna save it. This is the best page in the entire comic right here, page 11. And it's like, Alex, it wasn't always like this. Just the paneling right here. I really set up the paneling, and I love this page and only this page of the entire run. This was also a backstory that was an entire shower thought, which was like me standing in the shower thinking, like, what kind of backstory would I give this character to explain the fact that he goes around stealing organs? Well, obviously, he had to give an organ to like a family member he didn't like. So like I'm working backwards here. He's so of course she got my kidney. It helped her back to full health, but without it I began to die. Like I'm trying to give him all this grand motivation, and then to back that up I had to explain why he hates her at the same time. So I'm like, when I was little I had a sister. She was the favorite. Christmas morning she got a pony. My parents saved up for 3 months to get it for her. I got clothes. Which, like, oh, she got a pony and they saved up for 3 months. Brian, you realize that something like an actual horse would continually be a cost. Like, it's not a one time purchase. You have to pay for the feed, pay for the, like, hay, keep getting rid of the horse shit. My parents would do anything for her, and they forced me to as well. One day we found out she had kidney failure. She needed a donor. Guess he was the only match. My parents forced me to donate an organ. You love your sister, don't you? No, she was a spoiled brat. Like, it's an okay backstory for a character, I suppose. But then, like, without my kidney, I began to die. I got leprosy. She had the one cure to my plight. I had given her an organ from my body. Now it was her turn to pay. And it's just like this right here, this paneling right here with the like zaggy lines going around the text bubble, the best thing I've ever done in this comic. Over here, just immediate cut to them standing there like an awkward pause. You killed your sister? As I was saying, this is supposed to be like a backwards sort of like. Why did I think that putting them sideways was a good idea? The pages. Anyway, they put me into an asylum. That was fun. Alex, do you like birds? Dot dot dot. Yes? Question mark. They gave me a lobotomy. Do you know how much that hurts? They cut a part of your brain out. Guess who had just learned about lobotomies and thought that would be a fun idea for a comic? When I was inside you, I noticed you had a hollow bone structure, kind of like a bird. So, in the comics I did before this, the comics I did in middle school, this Alex character, this self-insert, would have wings and would fly around. He was a combination character. I had another character with like a spheroid head and like ghostly appendages, and I basically combined them into Alex's father, which was a dumb character design, and basically it was just the Alex character with like an X over his chest because that was the face of the other guy, and then he had a cape, which I eventually turned into angel wings. So in this comic, I skipped that character entirely. I drew like an X on this character. These drawings are so bad. So bad. If I'm right, you need to hold your wings out over hot air and flap over cold. That's an Animorphs reference. Finally, way back home. And he immediately just ditches him, and then Locke kills himself. Because I couldn't figure out how to get myself out of that situation. Like, how do I write myself out of this corner? I want the other characters to meet up. I don't care about this character anymore. There we go. So Alex flies down, meets up with No Name Guy, who got a ride with somebody else. The car looks okay. It's passable as a car. There's no street. All the houses are blocks. Oh, Alex, you're back. You know you owe me a car? Wow, his face. Oh my god. Hey, try on your mask. Sure. Huh. And he just falls over. So it's supposed to be implied that Leviathan is like taking over his body. Leviathan was the main character in like my middle school comics. And then we get this whole like weird spread where he's like The no name character is slowly being transformed into the father character that I was just mentioning, who is also ripped directly from Animorphs. But this father character, basically, the mask is his face. I don't know why Locke is nude right here, but you can see the transformation, and his body slowly turns into like the ghostly appendages that I mentioned. I don't know, not much with that. Here's that page again. So basically, I'm like, this is backstory. Let's put it in the beginning. So, I kind of like the shadowy approach. Like, it's supposed to be a door opening, and like the beam of light is like hitting the kid, and it's like whatever. Immediately ruined by the fact that there's no shadows on anything. I thought it was important that the mom's face is never shown. I don't know why I thought that was important. This panel became a fucking nightmare. But basically, she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna make it up to you." This ceiling fan thing right here, that's kind of weird. I think it was inspired by Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or something. Anyway, she's like, "I'm gonna buy you a toy tomorrow," and he's like, "Whatever, just leave him." The dad is has a fucking gigantic chin. Holy shit! Let's cover his face with the text box. That's kind of cool. Bring better bring some beer home if you know what's good for you. Like, what an asshole. I don't like him. So they get in the car, and so he has this like teddy bear that he carries around, but he always like carries it by the neck, which was supposed to be some sort of like grand metaphor for how the character is being so violently beaten at like all times that he doesn't really understand what is a positive or negative like physical affection. So he carries the teddy bear around by like wringing out its neck because that's the only thing he knows, which might be the only sort of symbolic significance in the entire strip, in the entire comic run, and we're on page 17. He's like, I have to go potty, and it's like, you could tell it's a target because I'm bad at drawing circles, but I drew some. Don't save. Over here, we have page 18. He used the bathroom. I drew the sink, so I'm like, he's not that tall. Let's draw a smaller one. He meets up with Alex. Alex, he's like, "Have you seen my mommy?" And Alex is like, "Oh no, go ask someone." And he goes and asks the main no name character, and is supposed to be like, "Yep, this happened on the fourth page. Neat, eh?" This is my like comic stand-in. Which I don't know why I don't like race. Can we like fix this? Can we fix this 10 years in post? Oh, look, we could just erase the cool. Page 19. Um we actually get back to the cashier. So Tommy picks out like a toy. Uh yeah, this was definitely 2008 because I was supposed to be a 2008 Universe Dinobot. And yeah, it was very Transformersy. I don't know why all the toys look like goldfish. I don't know. And then it turns out that that girl at the beginning, yeah, over on like page 4 or 5 of the comic, who was holding a gun up to her mouth, that turned out to be Tommy's mom. That bullet was huge, by the way. We have Tommy meet up with the no name character. It's very awkward. Wow, wow, wow. This is the worst way. I mean, it's legible and you can read where the text is, so it's better than I guess Christian. But holy Christ! Never, 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 never do it like this. Holy shit. What's in the bag? Well, that's just a toy I bought. Well, really a mask. I can just say it's a mask. Try it on. Sure, why not? Notice the slight gap. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Ask them to drive us home. That's been happening a lot lately. Listen, can you so that's supposed to be the phone call with the Dirk Gently ripoff. Cool. So you got here fast. Listen, my friend's coming too. It's like, alright, well, there's my house. See you, Tommy. Thanks for the ride. And then, like, he dies again. You already knew that. So now he's the father character, which is like a ghost with a mask for a body. Very Shaolin Showdown. Is this all there is? And then I don't really have an excuse for this. Uh, I started like getting into learning how to draw the Transformers anime characters, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's just draw Locke, but looking like Locke down. And then behind him is the father character, where it's just like a semi-sphere with like an X and eyes on either side of the X. I don't know, man. And this is supposed to be like the end of Act 1, where he's like, commence Operation Clocker. And, like, I don't know. These gears took me like forever to draw, and then I drew this like mechanical arm, and he's supposed to be basically building a mech suit that he uses later on. But I don't think he ever got around to finishing it. I don't know. And then I'm like, this is confusing. Let's put a recap. It's really not that fucking complicated, and we're about halfway through, so I'm just gonna. This is the worst.